And so here we go this morning, Justin. Podcast Friday, right?
Pretty psyched. The weather's beautiful.
It is.
We have an awesome guest today.
We do. We do.
I'm thrilled.
Amie's with us.
Here.
Yep, with a step above design. That's we're happy to have you here. I would have had my cup, and my wife is drinking the coffee out of my cup this morning instead of me.
I was excited to see her with it.
It's good. She's out there advertising, putting things out there. So
Yeah.
I love the logo.
yeah,
Thank you. It looks pretty good in that Yeti too. doesn't
yeah,
it?
it does.
It does.
Almost everything looks good in the Yeti, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Depends
Well,
what's
that's
inside
why I
the
had
cup.
to get it
What do you got
because
in
it's
there?
the.
Oh, look at that. She even got the
This is
Vanna
water.
White way of showing that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I had to get the.
That's
you
not
know,
water,
the
folks.
high-end Yeti
Right.
because I mean that's my brand too.
It is high end. That's
You
right.
know, I'm a step
Absolutely.
above.
That's right.
So
I love it.
there we go.
So we'll get into all of that in just a second. But first, we always like to dig in successful people that share what's going on with being customer service oriented. We kind of like to figure out how they got to that point, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about being a little kid, and then we're going to talk a little bit about going into University of Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So what's up?
We have to do that.
Right.
Well, we
Sorry.
never even said her first and last name.
All right. So Amie Stepkoski.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Stepkoski.
Stepkoski.
Stepkoski. I can't even.
We're such
I-
great friends.
I can't even say Vi right.
I
I
set
can't
him
even
up for
say
that.
Vi right. Don't give me a hard time about that.
Yeah, really, of all people.
I know, right?
Your last name.
I know.
Yeah.
You would
That's
think
right.
that
Call
somebody
him
would
Matt
keep up
Vague
that.
from now on.
Right, Matt Vague. So
I think I will.
I don't think vague would be right because I mean Ben even said we've got 13 hours of sound, Matt. Don't use it all.
Well, we'll use it with Amie.
There we go. Sounds like a
Amie
plan.
Stepkoski.
I'm ready.
A step above designs. Let's go.
So
Do it.
where were you born? Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about your family. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay. I was born in Georgia, of course.
I like it.
Which is exactly why I had to come introduce myself to you.
Absolutely.
At Bobby's book signing.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
What
yeah,
part of
I
Georgia?
lived in Lilburn. I went to Brookwood High School. It's just out like northeast of Atlanta.
Got it.
85. So,
Got it.
yeah, I lived in the same house.
Just outside the perimeter.
Yep. Since I was 5 years old, and my parents just sold it a couple years ago. So
Oh,
I
really?
had a really stable childhood, and my grandparents lived in Chattanooga.
Right.
And they had a business, Bright's Home Fashions. It was a flooring and home decor business. So,
Right.
I mean, I would go visit them in the summertime and go to the store with Grandma and follow her around and help her, pick out wallpaper and decorations for, this was in the 70s. And
Right. So
This is like
the
in
floor
your
orange
blood.
and shaggy.
wallpaper, yeah. Carpet, shaggy
Disco lights.
rugs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which disco ball matches with this shag carpet?
Yes, it was so much fun. I totally decorated my dream house every summer when I'd go up there and stay with them.
Right. Nice.
And then they would come to Atlanta to go to the market,
Right,
to
yep.
shop for their
Yep.
store, and I would meet them there at the Hill. They'd let me come stay with them at the
Oh,
Hilton,
that's so
the
awesome.
Big H
That-
downtown.
That had to be so cool as a
Remember
kid.
that?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They had their elevators on the outside.
Yep.
Do you remember those?
I do. Yeah, I do.
I called them the alligators. I mean, I was like that little.
Wow.
And it was so fun. But anyways,
Holy
that's
cow.
where I realized that I loved design.
Isn't
Just-
it funny how little things from your childhood really, really stick out, and then other
Resound.
things could be really, really blatant, and you don't remember any of it?
Absolutely.
Oh, I know. I probably couldn't tell you what I did 2 weeks ago, but
Yeah.
I remember those alligators going up the side of the Big H.
Absolutely.
I think
And
it's
everybody
really
can
cool.
everybody can remember Saturday morning cartoons, all the stuff that
Oh,
comes on and the
yeah.
commercials and sing the jingles and all that kind of stuff. But 2 weeks ago, like I can't even
Right.
remember people's last name as a matter of fact.
I know, and I thought we were friends.
We
Matt.
are. How is that a judgment of
Yeah, but
friends?
I set you
What's
up.
my middle name? What's my middle name?
I don't know.
All right, see, there we go.
Say your last name. Big.
Close enough. Close
We're
enough.
changing it.
What are you laughing about, Hemus?
But All right, so staging and home decor is definitely in your blood. Like really, like when you think back, what about that process, especially from maybe your adolescent mindset of what really stuck with you? Why did you like it so much? Was it spending time with your family and your grandparents and stuff like that, or?
I think that was part of it, but I do have a really creative side. I enjoy just putting things together, and what's kind of funny though is a lot of creatives hate math and they hate,
Right.
they don't like that kind of thing.
Sure.
But I love it. I hated English in school. I liked art and I liked math. And isn't that weird?
Isn't that
It
two
is.
different sides
I
of the
know.
It is. It is.
It
So,
is.
so we talked about this. And one of the times that
Right.
we met, we talked about this. And there's a very important part about how you deal with your customers. Something that you said that we're going to hit on in just a few
Okay.
minutes. Okay. That's pulling both of those sides. I didn't mean to jump in,
Right.
but pulling both of those
Well-
sides apart together.
That's
And-
really cool.
And I didn't know what staging was, honestly, until probably like less than 5 years ago.
Right.
Sure.
Well, you didn't know the
Because
official
I didn't
name.
know it was called staging.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right. But the thing that's so cool is staging is more about like patterns and which design is, but it doesn't actually involve as much creativity as
Right.
like an interior designer that's starting from scratch and just trying to make
Right.
some big wow room.
Right.
It's really more marketing and
That makes sense.
you know
Yeah,
what
totally.
I mean?
Yeah, that makes
So
complete
I think
sense.
That's
Patterns.
why I love it so much.
Yeah.
And you kind of do a similar thing in each room.
Are you good at Tetris too?
Actually, I used to love Dr. Mario. Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
kind of like that.
Yeah, the same
Remember
thing.
that?
Oh yeah, putting it together. Absolutely. That makes complete sense.
Yes.
The room just goes
Just the
together.
colors,
That's
too.
right. And how to flip the couch. I mean, the L-shaped piece.
Oh yeah.
I've got some I've got some questions on that, but we're gonna save that for later. All right, so you grew up going to your grandparents' house in Chattanooga quite a bit. Tell us a little bit more towards maybe your high school years and then where you went to college and all that
Right.
good stuff.
Okay. Well, we probably don't want to spend too much time on my college life, but I did go to University of Georgia, and it
There
was
you go.
awesome. I
Right.
love Georgia football. I mean,
That's what I'm talking
I had a lot
about.
of fun in college.
I'm
and
outnumbered here.
That's what I'm
You had
talking
fun
about.
in college?
I did.
That's good.
And
Good
I
for you.
wasn't really focused on academics, and partly because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I remember signing up for an interior design class, and then they told us to pull out like these drafting boards, and which you would think I would like because I like math, but
Right.
I don't know. It was too much of a commitment to me at that time.
Yeah, it
was
just wasn't. It
really
wasn't in the
out of
cards
time.
right then.
And
Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, I did go to Georgia. I did graduate, and
They
I
partied
had
though.
a psychology degree because it got to the point where it was like, what do I have to do to just finish? And my dad was saying that too.
Right.
Right.
You were getting the heat.
Everybody's going
I
uncle.
kept changing majors. I mean, I probably had like 400 classes.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, all right, it's time to finish.
Right. It's time.
So, anyways, I met my husband in college and Jim, and then we got married shortly after. And I actually went back to school once I, kind of realized I needed to be
Right.
a productive person in this world.
Right.
And I got my master's in special education.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And I did that for a small amount of time. But, we got married and he was in the pharmaceutical industry, and you have to move around a lot in that industry if
Yeah.
you want to move up in the company.
Right.
He was with Johnson & Johnson. So, his goal was to just climb the ladder.
So you
We moved a lot.
so you bought and sold a lot of houses.
Yeah.
So tell us about buying and selling the houses, right? Because I'm sure that plays directly into what you're doing right
It
now,
does.
right? So let's talk a little bit
Well,
about
when
that.
did that first start too? So
Yeah.
how old were y'all?
So, I got married in 98.
Right.
I don't know, 20s.
Okay.
So we moved, in the first 12 years, we moved 7 times.
Oh.
Wow, that's a
with our
lot.
marriage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
And, we were buying and selling. So I really got to know what it's like to be on both sides,
Right,
too.
right, right.
I knew what I was looking for by the 7th house.
Right.
Probably by the 2nd or 3rd house, but and I was just blown away
What-
about what I'd see online.
Were
too.
you
It was like-
without knowing the name of it? Were you staging the houses?
Yes, my house.
So tell me,
We were under contract in less than 30 days every single time.
regardless of the market, because that was right through the tough
Oh,
market
yeah.
times, right? If you do the math,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
So we finally went to New Jersey. We moved around a lot in Georgia.
New Jersey.
And I know we went to this girl.
I know that's what I was. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, Jim's from New York, so
Dirty
I kind
Jersey.
of had a little
Georgia to New
help,
Jersey
but
is
yeah.
like 8,000 miles away.
Yeah, and all my family, was
Right.
down in the South. So we get up there. He was doing his time in home office.
Right,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
right.
kind of the
Absolutely.
hub for pharma companies. So
Right.
we get up there, and we knew it would be temporary,
Right.
because I was not staying up there. Well, a year and a half in, J&J laid off 8,000 people.
Wow.
So, and
That's a
here we
huge
are in the
layoff.
hub of
Was this
pharma. It
was
was
that the market downfall?
2010.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
So, and it was Christmas time. So we put
Holy
our house on the market in January in New Jersey in a
Market.
economy, you know. Like
Did it
all
sell?
those layoffs, and we were done in a couple months.
Holy
I
cow.
mean, like closed. in a
That's
couple
fantastic.
months. So
That's fantastic.
so we come down here, you know, we've got 2 little kids, and anyways, fast forward, my kids are 16 and 18 now, and
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to work. I mean, I wanted to go back. I was ready to do something,
Right.
you know, that I was
Right.
passionate about, and so that's why I decided to do staging, because I realized that through my experiences with moving and selling,
Yep.
first of all, I loved real estate. I'm kind of a Zillow stalker.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I mean, every time I'm driving
We
around,
love to hear
I'm
that.
like, oh, look. I just
And
like,
it's everywhere.
I mean, I know that
We
I
love
don't
that.
necessarily believe their pricing. Okay?
Right, right.
So, but I love real estate, but I didn't want to be a real estate agent, and I really was able to combine everything,
Right.
you know, with staging.
Right.
So,
I have a
And-
question. Like, I want to rewind a little bit. So when you're talking about moving as much as you did, so 7 properties you said in what 12
12
years?
years.
yeah.
So going into that house, you know, I'm imagining you know, wrapping your passion around quote unquote, you know, staging the home, putting the right decor in.
Right.
So because I know quite a few people who have been in that type of grind, the corporate type of deal, and they're moving everywhere, and no place to them ever really feels like home.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they just feel like it's a temporary presence,
Right.
and then they move on.
Right.
Did that help you guys, even if it was for a year and a half, just really settle in and make this your own for the while that you had it?
Yeah, I mean, we had to,
Yeah.
you know, or else we would have spent 12 years feeling
Right.
unsettled, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But,
That's tough.
Yeah, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah. Oh, very
Yeah.
true. Yeah. And
Right.
and you walk into a house, and I'm sure you were kind of looking at it like, of course, you want to make a home out of it and
Yeah,
everything.
you're like,
But you're like, yeah, if we redo this, and
Yeah.
if that's a little bit
Right.
different, and all that kind of stuff, and so how many of the houses did you walk into that you're like, oh my God, it's a mess? How many of them that you
Yeah.
purchased? It's a mess, but I see if I can do this, this would be different. Does that happen a lot?
So, yes, and I actually have a kind of a funny story that Jim and I were just laughing about last night, and I hope y'all can
Oh, we'll
appreciate
laugh.
how funny it is.
Yeah.
But
we'll laugh.
We'll laugh,
So-
even if it's like, haha.
we went to, when we were moving from Macon to Alpharetta. Do you
Yep.
know where Alpharetta
Absolutely,
is?
yeah.
And they were just throwing up houses in Alpharetta.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it was booming. And so we were just in a hurry, really. And again, we knew we're not going to be here forever.
Right.
So you're not looking for your forever home.
Right.
We bought this house that I had walked into, and so I shouldn't be a sucker for, you know, what I see in a house. Like, usually I can see, you know,
Right.
I have my own vision for it. Okay,
Right.
well,
Right.
I found this house, and I'm like, ooh, this is perfect. It's in the right neighborhood. It's, you know, the right size for our growing family. This will be great, you know. And then we closed on it, and we were laughing last night about when we walked in for the first time after the closing, and the house was empty. I started crying.
Because
Lord.
I was like, this is a piece of crap.
This is not what I
What
saw.
did you just buy?
It was your own Judy
bait and
back on you.
switch, bait and switch.
Oh my gosh, what in the world did we buy? And you know, it all worked out. Like we made it our own, but I was glad to get out of that house. But I thought, how did I fall for that?
Okay,
you
so I
know?
got a question for you. So,
That's so
thinking of that, so being able to help other people with what they do whenever they're buying a house, how can you help someone not run into that same situation? What is it that they need to do? And I know mentally pull the furniture out, mentally pull the stuff off
Right.
the walls and all that kind of stuff. Is there anything now that you look at, or going back and looking at it then, that you went, if I really would have looked at this, it would have
Yeah.
made a big difference on this? Was there anything that you could think
I'd
of?
say look at the quality and decide is that the quality of construction that you want. Like, really try to look at the fixed
Yeah.
finishes.
Right.
You know, the assets. Like,
Bones first, and then
Yeah, right.
Yes.
That's right.
and then inward.
Exactly. And, and the other thing is when those people moved out, I mean, there were just streaks down the stairs on the walls from the furniture sliding on the wall,
Yeah.
Oh,
that
wow.
kind of stuff. And that, you can't really avoid. So
Right.
we just had to paint everything. But,
Yeah.
but I say, and when I'm staging, because I think this is important, it's not about covering up anything
Right.
at all.
Right.
And it's not about hiding.
Yeah, we talked. Yeah,
anything.
that's
So-
huge. That's
But it's really about showing off the fixed assets, and that's what buyers should be looking at.
Right.
The location, of course. What's the view from your family room or from your bedroom, or when you look out the window, and look at the fireplace, and the finishes in the kitchen, the
Right.
cabinets, and that sort of thing. So, are you going to be okay with that? Can you live with that for a while and then maybe upgrade later and that
Yeah.
sort of thing?
yeah. So
More
look,
of a complimentary service as opposed to trying to hide.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Well, she hit on something that was really smart, and again, we've talked about this before. This is really huge. Before you look at the beauty of something, look at the bones of it, right? Before you look at the fixed assets. Every time that
Right.
we've talked in depth about this, you've talked about the real assets of the property or what need to be accentuated,
Right.
instead of trying to cover up what is a negative in the house.
Right.
And so that's absolutely huge. The bones before the beauty. So
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm staging a property and someone says, let's just leave that rug down because that floor is kind of damaged right there or whatever, I'm like, no.
yeah,
You need to pull that up.
Right.
And if you're not going to
Wow.
repair it, you can't cover that up. Do you
Right.
want them going through their final walkthrough and then the whole deal explodes?
right, 100%.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's so
just-
huge.
And
So
that's just
refreshing.
an integrity thing too.
It is
I
100%.
You don't
Yeah.
you don't hide things like that.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
refreshing for
Yeah.
sure. All right, so talk to us. So, I think that the general public, and I'll even throw a majority of realtors in there, don't really understand the true value of really staging a home to sell. And I've seen the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
It's dramatic.
It is.
Of what you can do.
Right.
And it's not just vacant homes. It's other homes too that need the decluttering and
Right, the
services that you
occupied.
do. So
Right.
Don't use that word clutter.
exactly.
That's the C word. I don't use the C word.
Right.
From beginning to end, how do you educate the consumer, assuming that consumer doesn't have the knowledge level that you do?
So the seller or the realtor? Or
Yeah, let's go
Yeah.
with the seller.
First, and
Yeah.
then we'll talk about the
Yeah.
realtor.
Okay, so the seller, all right, I want to create buy-in, right? The
Okay.
recommendations that I make, I want them to buy into this. And this is really occupied homes we're talking about because,
Right.
a vacant, it's like I just go in and do my thing and
Right.
there's not much interaction with the seller,
Right.
really. But I love occupieds because that's where I get to work with people
Right.
more. And so I want them to understand why I'm making recommendations so that I can create that buy-in so they'll do it, because,
That's tough too, though,
Yeah.
because
It
people
is.
are emotionally tied. What do
Oh,
you
yeah.
mean my couch isn't right?
oh, they
Yeah.
are. But you know what? I use words that empower them. That's why I don't use the C word.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, let's edit this space because I want the buyers to walk in and see that gorgeous view out the window or that beautiful fireplace and not be distracted by all these other things in here.
Right.
So we're going to edit and we're going to pre-pack. It's another thing I
Right.
can say because you're going to have to pack anyways. So when you get an offer in a week, you're not going to freak out because
Right.
you're already
And miss a great
packed
offer
up a lot. Exactly.
because there was too much emotionally going on in it. So you
totally makes
so one
sense.
of the cool things that you do is after you have these conversations, you actually build a report for them, right? And some of the report is stuff that you do,
While we're there.
and some of the stuff is right. So tell us a little bit about that because this is what we talked about. That I think that this is that numbers and logic side of your brain. Because emotional people, if they were staging, they're going to run in, they're going to go, oh my gosh, girl, we can fix this, we can do that, take this down, all that kind of stuff. And then they disappear, and the person's standing there going, okay, what did they say again?
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
a logical person is going to say, okay, so how exactly are we going to handle this? You have a conversation about and
Totally.
using vocabulary appropriately, having
Right.
that conversation, and then you offer them a report with stuff that they can do and you can do, right?
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about it because it's killer. That's-
Okay, so I have a report that I bring to every consultation, and I call it my Design for Results
Okay.
plan. Okay, and it's about 10 pages, only because I have a page for each space, and there's some general information
Right.
that would apply to any kitchen or to any family room. And then there's plenty of white space, because I hand it to my client with a pen and a clipboard, and they are going to take notes while we're walking through the property
Right.
and talking about each space, because they know what they need to write down and remember.
Yeah.
You know, and there might be some things they don't need to, so I can focus on what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so they've got this nice report.
Yeah.
There are people with a personality that they want to sit down and see all the details,
Right.
right?
Right.
But others, that's super overwhelming.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my gosh, I cannot look at 10 pages.
Right.
We're about to move. I'm freaking out already.
Right.
You know, so at the end of our time together, which is about 2 hours, I'll sit down and we'll look over it, and I will prioritize. And I have a separate sheet that's our top 10 priority list, and I'll just write out the top 10 priorities, so that if, you know, maybe the husband loves details and he wants to see that report, and maybe the wife is overwhelmed and she's like,
Right.
I just want this.
Right.
Tell me what I got to do, and then I'll cross it off as I go.
Right.
And I've really found people love that, because number one, they have a plan.
Right.
That, you know, brings down the emotion.
Right.
And we've talked about why I've made these recommendations. They're always backed by a marketing strategy or a design principle.
That's huge.
And, you know, I understand real estate too. I mean,
Right.
I've
Yeah,
do
you've
all
been there,
those
done that.
things.
Right.
So that creates the buy-in. It gets the ball rolling. They're
Yeah.
like, all right, I can do this. And they're
Yeah.
excited when I come back. I usually come back and just kind of see what they've done, and maybe do a little prep before the photographer. I offer that service.
Right.
And they're stoked to show me that list.
Oh,
They're like,
absolutely.
Look, I did all these things, you know?
And I mean, it's so cool that you're so it's great to be an expert and walk in and sit down and say, hey, these are all the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
But whenever you back it up with additional information
Right.
that says,
Right.
hey, this is going to help marketing wise. This is what's going to happen with the amount of money that, you know, potentially the amount of money, the results that you get, because you know, we're designing this again for results. That's what we've said. We're going to
Right.
market it better. Being able to back all of that up with the facts, and then being able to leave it there for them priority wise. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Right.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And I've
That's what I
looked
would
at
want.
the buyer demographic. So
Right.
we are focusing on the buyer demographic for that house.
Right.
And we're focusing on what the photos are going to look like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go
That's
around
huge.
and
Yeah. Right. Right.
because
Right.
you want good margins in your photos, and that's what we're keeping in mind, because that's the first impression
Right.
anyways. That's what's
Right.
going to get people in the door.
100%.
If they don't get in the door, they're not going to be making offers.
Yeah, 100%.
The key takeaway for me there is the empowerment a little bit. I mean, that has got to be a key differentiator for you amongst other people who are in the staging business. I mean, you know, like you said, a lot of people can go in there like a bull in a china shop and just say, hey, this is how we're going to do it. Hold on tight, and then, you know, write me a check.
Right.
But you are through the process with the customer, and that, you know, kind of goes back to who you are
that's
as a
huge.
person, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Have you ever gone into a house and either looked at the house and go, I can't mess with this. This is awful. Or the client that you've worked with, you're like, listen, I can help you, but I'm not working with you.
Right, yeah.
Either one of those, have they ever happened?
Well,
We don't need names.
I
No
would
names.
say both. Well, actually, it's really fun when you walk in and so just imagine if you were that seller. You know, it might be kind of
Yeah.
intimidating. You feel like, oh, they're just going to come judge my
Right,
house.
right,
You know,
yeah.
they're gonna
Right.
and that's a personal space. It's not like they're just coming to your. I mean, even your office is not as personal as
Right.
Right,
your
yeah,
home.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, they're usually a little bit on guard when I get there,
Right.
especially if I haven't
Oh, you
had a
bet.
chance to talk to them on the phone beforehand.
Right.
That helps if I can do that first.
Right.
But anyways, when they're all kind of puffed up and like on guard right in the beginning, especially men for some reason,
Oh, sure.
like,
Right.
they're just like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like,
Yeah.
this is just, this is cute.
It's
Right.
because it wasn't their idea.
That's right. And
Yeah.
and they're not sure if it's going to work, right?
Right.
They're like, hey, you know, I buy things, I walk in the store, buy the first thing off the rack and leave. You know, that's
Right.
how they think the house is going to happen. They're not
Right.
That's so
acknowledging the
funny.
emotional side of it.
Right. Nobody cares what's on our bookshelf or,
Right.
you know, whatever. But what's fun is I think, I'm such an intimidating person. I know
Oh,
you
yeah.
can already tell
Right.
that. But I just have a way of helping people relax, And
Yeah.
I think when they see that I'm there to help them, I mean,
Right.
the bottom line is I want to help them make money.
Right.
Like we're talking about the features in their home and the fixed assets
That's
in
huge.
their home that will make them money.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's really what they
As-
care about.
as-
And they see that, and then they soften up. And so then I'm like, yes.
Yeah, well, that's that Southern thing. The Southern thing helps with that. And then
Yeah.
as soon as they
Yeah.
realize there's some logic behind it and you know what you're talking about, I mean, it's just a
Right.
matter of,
Well,
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
she's using words
Get in the boat.
to help people understand. So it's like instead of people thinking of this as an expense
Right.
that they're incurring, it's an investment instead.
100%.
Of an expense,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And once people understand that, it's a flick of a switch. And it's the same thing with real estate people when they're selling the idea that it's 6% commission. It's like, that's not an expense to you. This is me working on behalf of getting you the best price. And
Absolutely.
It's the same
Right.
premise, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I totally get it.
Yeah, and with all of that, I mean, he just touched on something, and you've said it a couple of times. The vocabulary that you're using is very concise vocabulary.
Everything.
Alan Dalton would absolutely love you.
Yeah, he's a
okay,
genius.
he is
Yeah.
a genius, and he's all about using the right words to communicate with the public with exactly what's happening,
Right.
not using the words that are industry words to try to intimidate the people you're talking to. So
Yeah.
he's
Right.
really big about, having conversations that truly communicate with, and that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a very true level of communication. That's huge. I mean, the design for results, I mean, that part alone. I mean, that's
Tells
exactly
you
what
what
you're
we're
doing.
doing.
That's right.
Right.
100%. There's no
So-
confusion. It's not like it's a staging report. A staging report is something that I should understand as a broker. An agent should understand. What is a staging report?
Right.
Designing for results is something the consumer
Right.
should understand.
Right.
That's absolutely huge. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I love it.
So we've covered the consumer. What about the realtor?
So, yeah, all right. I was on Pro the other day,
Mm-hmm.
Dallas Realtor Organization, and you can, I mean, you guys, that's your lane, I know. So
Right.
it said that there were 9,000 members.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means there are 9,000 agents in Pinellas County. I know they're not all working.
I was
but-
just gonna say we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nowhere
We don't have
near
to
it.
call them.
Okay, but there's 9,000, all right?
Yeah.
So maybe Sally got her license so she could just sell her mom's house,
Right.
okay?
Right.
So you're still competing with Sally that got it.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
You're still competing to get her mom's listing, right?
100%.
So I also noticed that January 2020, there were 2,343 new listings, which is down 9%
Absolutely.
from last January.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
not a whole lot of inventory or new listings for realtors to go after,
It's not,
right?
and so that number last year was up though. So as far as a normalized market, we're probably about 6%
okay.
down. We're still down,
Yeah,
but as far as
Okay.
normalizing the market, we're probably about at that point. But you're right, listing inventory, the pendulum has absolutely begun to swing,
Right.
and so inventory, quality of inventory is not what it was,
Mm-hmm.
and sheer number of inventory is not what it was.
Yeah. So the
Right.
competition's way steeper.
Right.
Right.
So exactly what you're saying.
So how are they differentiating themselves?
That's right.
How
And-
are they getting those listings? Listings are their lifeline,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I mean, you don't want to have just one or two listings, ideally, because if one blows up,
Right.
are you going to be able to pay your bills?
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can
Right.
get some things in the pipeline.
If you're running a hobby, you can do that. If you're running a business, you cannot.
Right. Right.
Right. So,
and
how do you, and so that all goes back to what you said a minute ago. How do you get people from in front of their computer looking at something to the front door of that particular house? Visually. So some people can do it with words, right? There's some people that can put a description in there in the words. The reality is that's a very small percentage of people that can paint that good of a picture that get people out from in front of the computer. What gets them out in front of the computer and to that front door
Yeah.
is the photo
right.
and their agent. The two
Yeah.
of those things together are what gets them from point A to point
Right.
B. So those photos have to look the way that they're supposed to. You're absolutely right. It has to stand out. And the agent has to be able to, when they're sitting down competing for that listing, has to be able to say, I'm going to be able to help you out. And one of the things I can do is I can make sure that we're getting the results with the home the way they're supposed to. So some of them say, I'll stage the home. right? In my opinion, that goes back to what we talked about just a second ago. What they should be saying is something more along the line of, I've got an expert that'll come in and help you design for results that are going to get us what we want to from the pictures, because people are going to get up off the couch and they're actually
Right.
going to walk in your front door, and then we can
And
convert
then your
them.
realtor is focusing on marketing the property and getting out there and meeting more people in the community to drive their business. And I mean, what does that tell a seller when you are offering a professional to come to their house and spend 2 hours with them
Right.
and help
Yep,
them
absolutely.
present the strongest product as possible
Absolutely.
to the market?
That's huge.
And you know, you want to create raving fans as
Right.
a realtor, right?
Right.
Because you want
Have
them to
to.
come back. You want them to have a memorable experience with you. And because I can't tell you how many times I've talked to realtors that have said, well, you know, I sold so-and-so their house 2 years ago, and then I saw on Facebook that
Yep.
they didn't even use me, and our experience was great. I don't know what happened, you know. They said,
I know.
We
I
use
know.
that statistic all the
you
time.
know, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, create a memorable experience for them so that they're out there, you know, you're going to get that word of mouth marketing because they're
It's the best marketing you can
like
get.
your sales force out there.
They're brand
you know?
ambassadors for
That's
you.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not going to follow up as a real estate
Right.
agent, if you're not going to follow up, then you have to so knock it out of the freaking park on the transaction that you can sit back on your laurels and wait for them to call you later.
Even then,
You-
you
Right.
probably
Oh,
have
yeah.
a 30% shot.
Right.
Tops, because you know what they're going to do? They're going to be looking through other things online, and that lead is going to get routed to whoever it happens to hit the right funnel for, and it's going to go to that agent instead of the person that even though they did a good job.
Yeah.
So either you
Right.
follow up.
The last
Or
person
you
they
do-
saw on Facebook.
That's
they're
right.
Like, oh, I'll call her.
That's right.
She's in Palm Harbor.
That's right.
whatever.
That's right. Or I just want to go look at this house really quick.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, it's not your customer anymore.
Bye-bye.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to follow up, and you have to be surrounded. Your ecosystem has to be full of professionals.
Yeah.
Right.
Period.
And you have to differentiate yourself from the other realtors.
Right.
And, you know, to me, providing a professional to come in and do this is like the silver bullet. You know, I mean,
Right.
and it's gonna benefit everybody
Right.
because
Absolutely.
actually, National Association of Realtors says that buyers will pay 87% of buyers pay more for a staged home. They want that move-in ready.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, the
Yeah.
percentage they say as far as how much more they'll get for their home is like 1 to 10%. So I was crunching the numbers.
Good.
You know,
Of course you were.
So I just went right in the middle, like 5%, let's say, on a $300,000 home.
Right.
I mean, that's $15,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many sellers could use another $15,000?
Right.
And that really, so it's really more like 14 for the seller and another 1,000 for the realtor.
Right. Right.
You know, 10 of those in a year, which, you know,
All day long.
I mean, that's, and
all day
then
long.
you've created
That-
that raving fan.
Yep.
So that's really the benefit there, I
Yep.
think.
A
But,
great quote we have from you: "The experience you provide clients is your brand. Make it memorable, exceed their expectations."
Yeah.
My
Unarguable.
I'm
Yeah.
all about
Yeah.
exceeding expectations.
Yeah.
And,
Unarguable.
you know,
Yeah.
and then, and here's the other thing I think about, and I saw something you posted yesterday and
Right.
commented on this a little bit, but
Yeah.
you know, I feel like people need to stop looking at, you know, the price only, like with
Oh, yeah.
commissions and
Yeah.
whatnot, because you got to think about what you're getting. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
Investment.
It's
Yeah.
investment instead of expense.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, and so, but you don't want to sit there and instead of, you know, trying to talk out the commission thing and show them the value you're bringing, because the value you bring to the table is actually going to bring more to that seller, you
Right.
know, at the closing table.
Right.
So don't worry about the commission, because with the services you're providing, the skills you have, the people you know, the resource that you are, the knowledge you have of the market and whatnot. I mean, you're going to bring more money into them anyways, above and beyond whatever commission they're worried about.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know?
So I'm going to use that as an example here real quick. So Bobby taught a class yesterday, right? And Bobby is a huge fan of yours. I think he uses you every chance he gets, and he talks about you in every listing appointment. So this is what Bobby said. So he walked into the class and he said, "Okay, everybody, we're getting ready. I'm going to do my listing presentation." because he was kind of coaching and training and walking people through a very ninja way of doing their marketing presentation. So he said, how many people in here think, and you can raise your hand, how many people in here think that it's fair that I only charge 5%, 4.5% to 5%? And this is agents in Berkshire Hathaway, and 3/4 of them raise their hand. Okay? He gets done with his presentation. Part of his presentation is you, right? Part of his conversation that he has is you, yeah, and why it's important and how the seller should look at design their house so that they get better results, right? So at the end of that, he said, how many people in here would pay 6.5% for what I just talked to you about? All but 2 people raised their hand. He said, how many people would pay 6%? Everyone raised their hand. How many people would be stoked if I did this for 5.75%?
Right.
And people were raising 2 hands. He said, how many people in here would pay 7% for what I just did? This is real estate agents. And he was like, tell me the truth. Don't hold back. It's just us. It's right. How many people would pay? And probably 1/3 of the people in the room raised their hand and said, absolutely, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
No wonder why I'm not winning some of the listings that I'm winning. And a big part of it was his ecosystem.
Right.
A big part of his conversation is having the experts around him. When he shows up, he has a team of people that perform at a high level.
Yes.
From title people to the mortgage lenders that he uses. Everybody is just
All the way
high
through.
level.
Yeah.
And so whenever he walks in the door, he is managing all of those services for the person that he's working with. They see it as project management instead of me just paying you to hope somebody puts a sign in the yard to hope somebody buys it.
Right.
Big difference between the two.
For sure.
And you're part of that.
Great value.
Absolutely.
That they're bringing to the table, and the seller is going to benefit more than anybody.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I mean, something like, what you do in your values and everything that we've been talking about is directly picking out specific real estate agents and real estate offices, in my mind, because there are several realtors out there who really just want to stick a sign in the yard and put it in the MLS and hope that the market takes care of the rest and just sell
market absorbs it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But those aren't necessarily the customers that you want. Those are definitely not agents that I want in my office.
Right.
And likewise for
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
And that's not somebody that you want to deal with on the other end of the transaction. So, in lieu of you being so crystal clear on what you want, you have picked out your niche market. And honestly,
Right.
it almost picks it for your,
That's right.
alone,
That's right.
which is awesome.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people should be focused on is the customer. You're either transactional in your mindset or you're customer service oriented. It's one of the two. We talk about it all the time.
And isn't it refreshing, though, to know that?
Oh, yeah.
To know your
It's the
ideal
best.
client.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you don't, otherwise you're just spinning your wheels, wasting time with people that they don't appreciate what you have to offer. And so quit trying to
The
change
Please
LinkedIn,
everybody.
the LinkedIn article that you were talking about just a second ago that I wrote,
Right.
I was serious. That happened in an interview. That person actually said that, and it was all I could do not to start laughing.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was and I knew at that point. If you guys haven't read the article, it's on LinkedIn. Just connect with me. It's a great article.
Yeah.
But I knew at that point when that happened, I knew I had a chance that I was going to be able to laugh for the rest of my life.
Right.
It popped in my head. This is one of those times.
That, right?
That's right. I was like, "This is so awesome,"
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I
Yeah.
said. And so I made that comment, and then of course it just spiraled downhill from there, and I couldn't get out of the appointment. I couldn't get them out of the appointment quick enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I know you don't like dealing with people like that. I know we don't. That's right.
Yeah.
Go
People
get them
that
tighter. Right.
Are your ideal client.
Absolutely. And people you want to work with. It makes the
Right.
transaction better when you're dealing with those
Right.
people. Yeah.
I mean, I think when you're crystal clear on your mission, and personally and professionally, you eliminate the possibility of you having a scarcity type of mindset,
Completely agree.
right? So when you're crystal clear on everything,
Yep.
everything is optimism, everything is positivity, everything is, the sun is shining all the time. But when you're not crystal clear on that, you're trying to do the shotgun approach, it is so easy for that scarcity mindset to just seep into your head and take over, right?
And you've got to have those people around you that look at it the same way.
Yeah.
Because on the days that you're faltering, right?
Yeah.
Because we all stumble. On the
Take
days
them
that
up.
you're faltering, you get a phone call from somebody or somebody makes a comment on your Facebook or something. You're like, shit, that's who I am. I forgot that's who I am.
Yeah.
Let's get back to that. Let's get that other crap
Right.
behind us.
Right.
If you don't have those people, if that's not who you're surrounding yourself with, the stuff you're seeing on social media, I see people say it all the time. Social media is so negative and so this and so that. Why are you friends with those people?
Right.
Why are you
Right.
talking to those people? Why are you letting those people comment on your stuff? Get rid of them.
Yeah.
They are
Quit
impacting.
thinking about them. They're taking up space.
That's
like
exactly right.
valuable space
And we're
in our
all
mind.
getting old. We don't have a lot of
Right.
space left, right?
Well,
We
some
talked
of
about
us.
what? You were saying 2 weeks ago.
I'm gonna see my way out of this conversation.
Look at him moonwalk.
All right.
Well,
Any-
can I just say this real thing?
yeah, of
Talking
course.
about the person you were interviewing. So there was this agent that I was thought I might work with. I
right.
met her at this listing and it was a vacant, so I just met her over there real quick to give her an idea of what I thought we
Yeah.
could do, whatnot. Anyways, I told her, I'm thinking it's going to be around in this range. Of course, I send it to her, and she's like, "What? This is nothing like what we talked about." Yes, it is, but
Right.
that's okay. Well, then I went online, and I'm looking at her other listings. I had not done my homework first.
Right.
So this was just a quick call.
Yeah.
And they were all not even good iPhone pictures.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, like
Oh, yeah.
dark. I mean, bad.
Right.
And I thought, what?
It's crazy.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
crazy.
can't waste my energy on.
Absolutely.
And that's fine. I mean, if she's successful that way, in her mind, or
Right.
is where she wants to be, that's fine. But just for me, I knew, it's time.
Principle
I
wise.
just
That's
to
right.
move on. Like
Right.
that's okay, and I'm good with it.
There's tons of people that love doing what she's doing. Rock on, right?
Right.
But you know how that would work out. That would so have not been worth the money because
Right.
your ideals were not aligned. Because the ideals were not aligned, doing business with her is just a distraction from how you want to do things.
Right.
You just can't do that. I mean, all
even
that
if
does
I
is
had-
take.
What if I had staged it, and
Yeah.
then she's got the iPhone pictures of my
That are
work
horrible.
on
Right.
there? Like
Right.
that. What does that do for?
That's another swing and a miss.
Me.
There'd have been like 15 of them through that whole transaction.
know.
Swing and a miss, swing and a miss,
Just-
swing and a miss.
Just walk away. Just
That's
walk
right.
away.
Let's
right.
not forget that we need those people though.
We do.
Because if everyone was an
We do.
ideal customer and everyone
Right.
wanted your services,
We do.
and did everything the right way, then all of a sudden that becomes vanilla. But we need those people that just
Right.
half-ass
that's
everything.
true.
Right. We do.
That's true.
And there's people that want to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's and I love it, right? Rock on.
That's fine.
That's right. But that's just not who I want to be around.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So let's so one more thing here. So we typically wrap up with favorite books and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
what's your favorite book? Do you have a favorite book other than the Bible? I know the Bible's
Oh.
probably your favorite book. What's your next favorite book?
Well, oh my gosh. Well, I have to say my favorite book is the one my daughter wrote.
Oh yeah. So tell everybody about that real
Ever.
quick. Yeah.
So my daughter Kaylee wrote it's like a sci-fi adventure, but
Right.
it's pretty cool. It's not a crazy sci-fi, if that makes sense.
It
But
does.
It's called
It does.
Ever. It was published last year. She's a best-selling author on Amazon.
Love it.
So check it out.
Gosh.
Kaylee Stepkoski, Ever. You'll find it on Amazon, but I'm really proud of her.
That's fantastic.
It was a good book. I don't really read a lot just for pleasure.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I like to read like personal development or
Right.
that sort of thing.
Bobby's book is good.
Bobby's book is really good.
Good talk.
And actually, I think I mentioned this to you last time we talked. I just picked up Atomic Habits, and he said,
Oh, yeah.
you're a big fan."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love that book.
Oh, yeah.
I'm only like 2 chapters in.
It's a
I
good
need
book.
the audio version because I
Right.
have a hard time.
I talk about it every day.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
getting better every
It's
day.
So good.
1%. Yep.
Just the little things, and just, I love it.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Cool.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how's everybody get in touch with you? How do they connect with you on social media? All that kind of stuff. How's that happen?
All right. Well, I've got my Facebook page, A Step Above Designs with Amie Stepkoski, and my website,
Right.
astepabovedesigns.com. Designs with an S at
Right.
the end.
Okay.
And then I'm on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
So what about phone number? How do they call you? Email address? Anything like
They
that?
can call me 727-710-0115,
Okay.
and I will call back if I'm not available at the moment, but
Cool.
leave me a message. So.
Fantastic.
right.
Fantastic.
Amie
Thank you.
Stepkoski.
Step Matt at Maddie.
And Matt Vig.
And
Justin.
Hesmus.
Yeah. All right, so Step Above Designs. Amie, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, we love
really
it.
Appreciate it. As always, gang, like, subscribe, comment, the whole
Share
bit,
the heck out of this.
We appreciate y'all.
One last thing, everybody. We've got Fusion 2020 coming up. It's going to be on April 30th. Be there, be square.
Peace.
Awesome.
See you.